Right now, the world is holding together by a thread. One misstep, and it all snaps. This isn't some future scenario. It's happening as we speak. Taiwan, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, every flashpoint is connected, and something is about to break. What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, the global order is holding together by a thread so thin that one miscalculation could snap it completely? We're not talking about some distant future scenario. We're talking about tensions that are literally boiling over as we speak. And honestly, something is about to break. The question isn't if anymore. It's when, where, and how catastrophic the fallout will be. Because here's the thing. We're living in a world where multiple powder kegs are sitting right next to each other, and someone's playing with matches. Look, let's be real about what's happening right now. You've got NATO and Russia staring each other down across Eastern Europe. China's making moves in the Pacific that have everyone nervous. The Middle East is, well, the Middle East. And all these flashpoints, they're not isolated anymore. They're connected in ways that are honestly terrifying when you start connecting the dots. One spark in the wrong place, and we're not looking at a regional conflict. We're looking at something that pulls in every major power on the planet. So here's the scenario that keeps military analysts up at night. Imagine a simultaneous crisis erupts across multiple theaters. We're talking about a coordinated challenge to the existing world order that forces countries to choose sides right now, not tomorrow, not next week, but immediately. Maybe it starts with a major incident in the South China Sea. Chinese forces make a definitive move on Taiwan, not just military exercises or rhetoric, but an actual operation. At almost the exact same time, Russia escalates dramatically in Eastern Europe, pushing beyond Ukraine into territory that triggers Article 5. And just to make things even more insane, a major conflict erupts in the Middle East that threatens global oil supplies. Now you might be thinking there's no way all that happens at once. But here's where it gets wild. In this scenario, these aren't random coincidences. This is coordinated. This is multiple powers who've been watching the West stretch itself thin, finally deciding that now is their moment. And the United States? It suddenly faces the nightmare scenario its military has been wargaming for decades, a true multi-theater peer conflict, where there literally aren't enough carrier groups, fighter wings, and troops to be everywhere at once. The initial hours are absolutely chaotic. Taiwan comes under massive missile bombardment. We're talking thousands of missiles overwhelming air defenses, taking out military installations, government buildings, and infrastructure. Chinese amphibious forces begin launching from the mainland, while their navy forms a blockade. The US 7th Fleet moves to respond, but here's the problem. They're sailing into the most contested waters on Earth, facing an adversary that's been preparing for exactly this fight for 20 years. The naval battles that break out in the Philippine Sea are unlike anything we've seen since World War II. Modern anti-ship missiles, submarines, and aircraft turn these engagements into brutal high-speed chess matches, where billion-dollar vessels can be sunk in minutes. Meanwhile, in Europe, Russian forces punch through defensive lines with a speed that catches everyone off guard. They've learned from their mistakes, and this time, they're not holding back. Baltic states face immediate threats. Poland mobilizes completely. Germany, which spent decades avoiding serious military investment, suddenly realizes its army isn't ready for this level of conflict. NATO's response is complicated by the fact that half its military assets, especially American ones, are already committed or heading to the Pacific. And the Middle East situation? That's affecting everyone immediately. Oil prices don't just spike, they absolutely explode. We're talking about hitting $200, maybe $300 a barrel within days. Gas stations in America run dry. European countries implement emergency rationing. The global economy doesn't slowly decline. It seizes up like an engine without oil. Stock markets worldwide enter freefall. Major corporations start announcing layoffs by the thousands. Your average person trying to get to work suddenly finds themselves in a completely different world than the one they woke up in a week ago. But here's what makes this scenario truly different from anything we've seen before. The nuclear dimension is present in every single theater. Russia has nukes, China has nukes, Pakistan and India are in the mix. Israel's got its own arsenal. And unlike previous conflicts, these powers are signaling they're willing to consider using tactical nuclear weapons if they face conventional defeat. That completely changes the calculus for NATO. Do you risk nuclear escalation to save Taiwan? To defend the Baltics? Every decision becomes existential. The alliances start showing cracks almost immediately. Turkey plays both sides, keeping its options open. India, despite being in the Quad, stays neutral because it relies on Russian military equipment and can't afford to pick a side completely. Japan goes all in with the United States, but South Korea hesitates because of its proximity to China and North Korea. Australia mobilizes fully, but realizes it's geographically isolated and vulnerable. The unity everyone assumed would exist in a major conflict? It's way more complicated in reality. Here's where things get even crazier for regular people. Within 2 weeks, you're seeing cyber attacks that make previous hacks look like child's play. Power grids go down across major cities. Banking systems get compromised. Communication networks become unreliable. The internet, which we all take for granted, becomes spotty at best. Social order starts breaking down in some places as people panic about the escalation. Store shelves empty as supply chains completely collapse. This isn't just a military conflict happening somewhere else on TV. This is affecting every single aspect of daily life. The economic consequences are honestly staggering. China holds over $1 trillion in US debt, and they're weaponizing it. International trade basically stops between opposing blocs. The global economy, which spent decades becoming incredibly interconnected, suddenly fractures into competing spheres. Companies with operations worldwide face impossible choices about which markets to abandon. Millions of jobs disappear literally overnight. The recession that follows makes 2008 look like a minor correction. Military casualties start mounting in ways that shock modern sensibilities. We're not talking about the relatively low casualty counts from recent conflicts. We're talking about losses that look more like the world wars. Modern weapons are incredibly lethal, and when peer militaries clash, the human cost is devastating. The United States potentially loses more service members in the first month than in all of Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Public support for the conflict becomes a massive political issue as casualty lists grow. And here's the absolutely terrifying part. There's no clear off-ramp. Unlike previous conflicts, where one side could achieve decisive victory, this scenario involves multiple nuclear powers fighting simultaneously. Traditional military victory becomes almost impossible without risking nuclear war. So the conflict potentially settles into a grinding stalemate across multiple fronts, with periodic escalations and no side willing to back down completely. The world doesn't end in a nuclear holocaust, but it doesn't return to peace either. It exists in a new, darker equilibrium. The world that emerges from this crisis, assuming it doesn't go fully nuclear, looks fundamentally different. The American-led international order that's existed since 1945 is shattered. Multiple competing power centers exist. Global institutions like the UN become completely irrelevant. Countries are forced to maintain massive standing militaries permanently. Defense spending crowds out social programs everywhere. The optimistic globalization era is replaced by militarized blocs viewing each other with permanent suspicion. So yeah, something is about to break. Whether it breaks in exactly this way or some other configuration, the pressure building in the international system is undeniable. Multiple major powers feel dissatisfied with the current order and believe they can change it through force. The mechanisms that previously prevented major power war, things like economic interdependence and international institutions, are proving weaker than everyone hoped. And the scary part? Once something breaks, putting it back together is going to be exponentially harder than preventing it from breaking in the first place. The world is standing at an edge, and the slightest push could send everything tumbling over. The only question left is whether anyone can step back before it's too late.